Hey, welcome everyone. Welcome to the Many Faces of Cancer. My name is Lisa Moore. I'm a longtime RN and a cancer patient diagnosed with stage 4B uterine cancer. I did not find out about my cancer until I went to the doctor and had pap smears, biopsies, things like that. I had no idea I was sick. The reason why I'm naming this documentary what I'm naming it is because every time I turn around since I've been diagnosed, I look different. I have lost my hair 3 times and grown it back through 18 or so rounds of chemo, 2 different treatments of radiology. One was a month. One of them looks like it's going to be about a couple of weeks. But every time I turn around, I look different. I have been every weight that you can imagine, mostly skinny, mostly skinnier than when I graduated from high school. But that's just, when you can't eat, you're not going to be gaining weight. So I've been all the way down to 65 pounds. So as you can imagine, my husband is flabbergasted by the way that my body, my hair, skin, everything changes all the time. So he kind of jokes about, being married to a different woman. So that's his way of coping and having fun with this. And it's helped me cope a little bit too. The reason why I made this is for several reasons. As a nurse, I wanted to share because so many people aren't aware of so many issues involved with cancer, whether you becoming a cancer patient or you have a loved one who gets diagnosed with a certain form of cancer. I will never forget the day that I was diagnosed. I was told to go home, get my affairs in order, and I was told that chemotherapies, surgery, radiation, alternative therapies, they weren't going to do anything for me. I was going to die, and hospice was recommended, and I went home and I made sure to talk with my family about all this, and it was very sad. It was very scary and very unnerving because it just happened all at once. I had been losing weight, so some people were not surprised, but I also had been treated off and on for GERD, and basically that has caused me more trouble with eating than the cancer has, if you can believe that. A couple of months after I was diagnosed, I was hospitalized and was having trouble breathing, and they had to remove 2 liters of fluid from my pleural cavity where the lungs sit because the fluid was pressing upon the lungs and I just couldn't breathe very well. They did biopsies of that fluid, and of course there was cancer in there. My cancer had already spread before I was even diagnosed to my lymph nodes. So it's like an army that had been sent out into the world to place itself all over the body in strategic places so that no matter what I was going to do, it was always going to be ready and willing and able to try to end my life. As you can see, I'm still here. I am still doing things. I got to see the birth of my first grandchild. I got to see my daughter get married recently. Those are all things that I was told wasn't going to happen. The first thing that I noticed about being diagnosed with cancer, after I informed my family, I started informing my friends. And I also informed people on social media. And of course that's a good and a bad thing, but mostly in my experience, it has been a good thing. It has been it's cathartic to blog and to post. But when people started telling me that they were going through the same thing, I'm not just talking about that they have a parent or some other loved one going through some horrible disease, whether it was cancer or something else. I heard over and over and over from people who were in the same boat that I am in. And I even ran into some people online who had not only been where I am, facing death with a terminal disease at its end stage, but there's a couple of them that survived and have lived a decade after they were told that they were going to not be around, that they needed to do some kind of continuing therapy or something like that, and that they really had no chance, hardly even with the therapy. This was very, very difficult for me as an RN to put my head around. I have not been a specialist in oncology nursing. I was a med-surg nurse, and I was a very good general med-surg nurse. I've been in several departments at our major county hospital: kidney transplant, pediatrics, surgery, emergency ambulatory medicine, things like that. So I had kind of a broad background. And while I've taken care of several oncology patients, the patients that I took care of, I never got a chance to learn as much as nurses who specialize in infusion for chemotherapy patients or oncology in general. I'm going to be very honest and say I tried to stay away from that field because a part of me just didn't want to be in a field where I felt like people really didn't get much hope with treatments, and that the people were getting treatments regardless of what the statistics would show. And so much money, so much effort, so much physical pain, misery. Even as a nurse, I didn't want any part of it. So going back to 2 months after I was diagnosed and I couldn't breathe, and basically that's end game for people with this disease process. It's one of the end games, I should say. I made the decision to go with chemotherapy. And my doctor tried to reassure me that he had helped patients in my condition with chemotherapy. I was very skeptical. My family sat with me in the hospital before all that started and saw me shoot daggers into the eyes of the nurse before we started chemotherapy, telling me that they were going to manage my symptoms. Everything was going to be okay. Pain, nausea, vomiting, whatever. And I just looked at her and I almost felt serious contempt, because there is no one that can promise you that they are going to just take care of all your symptoms. Sometimes medications don't work. Sometimes treatments don't work. You just can't do that. And so, yeah, I was scared, angry, afraid, and feeling like that I was just having the wool pulled over my eyes as a cancer patient who was told, you're going to be gone any moment, so, go home, hug everybody, love everybody, make sure your affairs are in order, and deal with it. As far as dealing with it, from the very first time I heard this diagnosis, it was like an out-of-body experience, because all my life I thought that heart disease would be what would be the most debilitating thing, and possibly be what would cause my death as an adult. I lost my father at a fairly young age. His mother and her mother before her all had very serious heart disease. And heart disease is the #1 killer of men and women. So cancer was just something that I've always pushed out of my mind. I had perfect pap smears my whole life. I didn't even have abnormal ones. Just perfect, no problem. Until the fast-growing cancer and tumor that started in the mid-wall of my uterus began to just go nuts. And it's one of the more aggressive kinds of uterine cancer because of where it starts and the type that it is. I also just felt like I was in a sea of black. For the first time in my life, I couldn't see any future. I couldn't even see tomorrow. It's like everything just became black. And that's the only way I know how to describe it. It was fear and blackness. There was no tomorrow. There was nothing. And it doesn't matter my religious beliefs as far as how I reacted to that, because I'm not talking about my belief in heaven or anything like that, because I'm talking about what you as a human being see as you get up, get dressed, go to work, go to the doctor. You see it tomorrow. You see a future of some kind. You see you going to a child's football game, or going to Christmas in a few months with your family, or you see yourself getting a promotion, or starting a new job, the very first thing that my doctor said after she told me the diagnosis was that I was going to go home and I was going to focus on me and my health. Because the first thing that came out of my mouth was, I'm teaching a class and it's starting up again in a couple of weeks. And she says, no, you're not going to be doing that. And it was her systematic taking down of the illusions that I started with before I came into her office. But she had to do that. She had to say, no, you're not going to be doing that. And she was right, because the treatments that I received were debilitating enough that trying to work and do that would have been too much. Ever since I've done chemo, I've been short of breath, very weak, and I haven't had chemo for several months now because I had an allergic reaction, so I'm probably not going to be doing chemo again. I've tried 4 different drugs, and my body just said, forget it. I was lucky I lasted about 5 treatments more than some people. The nurses and doctors were concerned once I reached about number 14, saying that, at that point, your body starts to have reactions and things like that. So I guess I've been very, very blessed. Because I was able to get even more treatment than they originally thought that maybe I would. That brings me to another subject. And I hope that this is something that's very, very important for anybody facing this diagnosis. Even on your worst days, when you're feeling sick as a dog from chemo or radiation or surgery or whatever, find something that will make you smile, laugh, grin, guffaw, whatever. Laughter will continue to be the best medicine. And this is speaking as a nurse with 3.5 decades of patient experience. You've got to find the good part of each day. Whether it's getting a free dessert at chemo, some cookies, or a volunteer knitting a hat that you get to take home. If you find, or just finding that your husband is there to love you and hold you, there will always be something about your day that you're going to have to cherish and just take it to your heart and keep it there and smile and use that smile to help others. It's very hard to be a cancer patient and see what this does to your family and your friends. That's almost the most painful part. It truly is, because you wouldn't wish this on your worst enemy. At least I know I wouldn't. I really believe that's one of the things that hurts the worst, is seeing the sadness on other people's face. And so I've done my best to try to have people see me smiling, to get dressed, to put my makeup on, to put your necklace and, you know, your nail polish, whatever, and get out there and look the nicest you can look. And feel the best you can feel. You'll find that people will be inspired and will tell you that they're inspired. And to those people who said that to me, that I have inspired them, just knowing that they care for me and have prayed for me during this horrific journey, I'm going to tell you, it's a gift. It's one of the gifts that I was given when I was diagnosed with cancer, is knowing that I had people praying for me literally all over the world. Sweden, Canada, Venezuela, whatever, you know, and all over the United States, and the internet goes everywhere. So it's kind of one of the weird realities of life in 2017. The world is a smaller place. The thing that I always remember is, as a Christian, the Bible says when two or more gathered in my name, you know, it talks about how God hears when two or more are gathered in his name. And you've got that many people on your side, you know he's listening. He's listening. One of the other things that has been wonderful about going through this is it's brought my husband and I closer together. Because it's something we're going through together. It's something that we didn't think we were going to have to face at this age. We thought we were going to be older, but I guess a lot of people think that they're not going to be in such a scary place. We've been together 37 years. We just had our 37th wedding anniversary. So some people go, well, that's a lifetime together. It is, but I'm ready to live more and do more things with my husband and enjoy more things with my family. So saying that I've had a great life, and in all practical purposes, I have had a good life. I have been blessed. And I can't say that I haven't been. And the whole purpose of doing this documentary is not for pity. Half the reason that I would never go out in public with the bald head or whatever from the chemo, and no makeup, and no eyebrows, and no, oh my gosh, when it gets rid of your hair, it gets rid of every hair on your body, especially when your doctor gives you 20% of an extra dose on your last, on number 5 and number 6. He gave me 20% extra medicine because he was so thinking that it was going to just kill that cancer because he had gotten such great results. But what it did was it even got the little cilia, little hairs inside the middle ear. So I was like, I'm deaf. Thank goodness they grew back in some capacity. And you know what? As a nurse with 3.5 decades of experience, I didn't know that. Even when I researched some of the issues with the platinum chemo drugs and things like that, I must have missed that part. I don't remember seeing that part. But there I was saying to my husband, what? What'd you say? It was very scary. I don't have all of my hearing back, of course, so many times I'm still having to ask people, what they said, but it is better than when that chemotherapy dose, those 2 chemotherapy doses were given. One of the other things that's hard about having end-stage cancer is you never know when your doctors or the insurance company is going to give up on you. The faculty at the medical school gave up on me immediately upon diagnosis and sent me home. I had to find other oncology doctors to take over my case. So that's the first thing. You're gonna have people give up on you. After some time, and I developed a complication where the cancer had invaded my lower colon, and I was almost 100% occluded. Well, you don't have to be a nurse or a doctor to know that that's not compatible with life. And when my GI doctor did the colonoscopy to see what was going on with the camera, she didn't say, well, I'm going to contact the surgeon and we're going to see if you are a candidate for surgery or if you're just going to have to go into hospice. I was basically told, go home and die. So I'm bringing this up because you're going to have people do that. And you're not going to know what to do. So your prayers need to be for guidance and peace. And when your friends ask you, what should they pray for? They don't even know what to say. They want to pray for healing and things like that, which is beautiful and has happened to some people. But I, in my journey, have just needed guidance. So, back to just a couple months ago, where I was, the doctor and her PA sending me home. The doctor didn't even come talk to me after the procedure to talk about what she found. She sent the PA, and I have enormous respect for PAs. But she needed to talk to me. But she didn't want to. She wanted to let me go. I was able to get an appointment with the doctor down the hallway, who is one of the best GI surgeons, colorectal surgeons in this area and probably beyond. He is amazing. I was very scared to go see him because I was thinking, oh, he's just gonna agree with the other oncology and GI doctors. And he didn't. He said, I have no idea what I'm going to find when I get in there. He says, you probably have a 50-50 chance of having a colostomy. And I looked at him and I was like, I will take those odds. I'll take those odds. Let's do this. Because before that, I was told that there was no way I would not have a colostomy. And I was told that I wouldn't even survive. So, and I'm going to be honest, I'm going to backtrack here and I'm going to say, as a nurse, one of the things that I was really not wanting to mess with was a colostomy. I'd had patients that had those, and to me, I didn't think I would be able to handle having one. I didn't think that my psyche could adjust to having something so abnormal. Because as a human being, it's not normal to defecate out of your abdomen. It's just, it's nasty, it's gross, it's hideous. And for those people who have one and who are living with such, my heart goes out to you, and I'm glad that many of them live fairly normal lives, depending on the reason that they had to have the colostomy. But I'm just, in this documentary, I'm just trying to be honest with how I have emotionally dealt with things and how I would deal with such a thing. I've told people over and over, I don't want one. And they knew I didn't, but they thought that in an emergency they would do one on me anyway. My doctors all said that, regardless if I wanted one or not. They says, well, we're not going to let you just die. Given the things that I've told you about what happened with my other doctors, I never know what to believe anymore about whether they're going to quote-unquote let me die. Because after I had the surgery, I have been doing well. I've been doing okay. And that doesn't mean a cure or anything, but it did mean that I was able to go to my daughter's wedding and be a part of that. And be there for her as much as I could. And that meant a lot to me. So you have to fight. You have to fight for every day. You have to fight for people to listen and to understand what you're going through. I've been having trouble breathing ever since I've had chemo, and the doctors are tired of me telling them I'm having trouble breathing. Other symptoms that I've had, joint pain, nerve pain, bone pain, that I've had ever since I've had chemo. And they're like, okay. After a while, they just turn it off. They don't listen anymore. So that's something that you're going to have to be aware of. Doctors and nurses are human beings, and they will eventually turn stuff off. And if they can't find a specific thing on a CAT scan or x-ray or whatever, or lab or whatever, then they're just going to say, okay. So what do you do? The other thing that has been very devastating about all this, and that you need to be prepared for, is how it affects you personally, physically, intimately, regarding intimate relations with your spouse and significant other, okay? Most women that have hysterectomies, they've got problems after having such major surgery, especially when you have to have a complete, total wipeout. You know, ovaries, fallopian tubes, uterus, everything, boom, gone. You know, it's very life-changing, especially when you've enjoyed a relationship with your husband for years. And I'm just going to be very honest, it is sad to look and see that that is affected in so many ways. And you wonder if it's ever going to be the same. That's the other thing. You wonder if anything is going to be the same. People are never going to look at you the same. People are going to tell you what you can and can't do. They're going to assume that you can't do something, or they're going to assume that you can. I've gotten so weak at times that I've literally had trouble opening up bottled water. Now, I'm very tiny, very petite, so people don't think of me as being very strong, but in my lifetime, I've been able to open things that my husband has not opened. I mean, I've usually pretty strong. So there's been bottles and cans and things that I haven't been able to open, doors that I haven't been able to open. There was a time when I was having trouble getting dressed because I was in so much pain with my shoulder. And I literally couldn't hardly get dressed by myself. It was ridiculous. So there's a lot of emotional and physical changes that you're going to have to deal with. The last thing I'm going to say is make sure, even before you learn anything about your diagnosis, be there with your support system. Don't shut them out. Don't hide away in a ball somewhere and just feel sorry or upset or whatever. This affects them too, so pull everybody in and let them take care of you. You will still be taking care of them. They don't necessarily want you to, but let them take care of you, because this is a time when you're going to need a little bit of extra TLC. Don't spend too much time being shocked about what people say or what people do. They're not in your shoes. I appreciate you watching, and I wish the best to you and your family if you are going through any type of major illness, not just cancer. And know that people like me and your neighbor are going through the same thing. Reach out, listen to their stories, because they're going to want to tell you what they've been through, and you'll be able to share your stories. And thank you so much for listening to mine. At some point in the future, I'll post another update, another documentary. But for now, God bless and have a good evening.